Hello there, it's Sarah from Paper Lovely. Thanks for joining me today. I'm going to be working with part of the collection from Jenn Hatfield, which is called Peaceful Heart. You may remember that I did an unboxing of this a little while ago. I got some things from Peachy Cheap, so it's not the whole collection, but there is quite a bit of it. Lots of really fun stickers. I love those mirrored stickers. I hadn't seen those before. And then there's a full pack of the foam stickers, as well as some letters and the cardstock stickers. So I have pulled in an additional light pink page and some vellum from Stamp Market. And I've also got a page that I grabbed out of the dictionary to add in, have a few sort of different sized pages. I'm going to be making a traveler's notebook today, and this is my first attempt at making one. I have seen other people make them, and they are just so beautiful, so I thought I wanted to go ahead and give it a try. So to start out here, I'm taking my 12 by 12 pattern paper and I'm trimming that down to 8.5 by 8.5. I'm going to do that for each one of the papers that I have, and then of course I will score that right down the middle. I'm then going to fold that over, make sure I've got some nice crisp lines, and I'm going to place my pages together in the order that I would like them, keeping in mind how this is going to flip and which of the patterns are going to be next to one another. I decided for my cover I wanted to go with that navy blue with the florals. That was my favorite, although that really pretty sort of plummy purple was a very close second. It was a choice between those two. So once I have these all sort of stacked in the order that I want them to be in, I can see that my center pages are going to stick out a little bit further than all of the rest. So I'm just trimming each of those down, and what I ended up doing was taking off, it was either an 1/8 of an inch or a 1/16 of an inch more off each one so that they slowly layered into the center. There are, let's see, one, two, three, four, there are 5 sheets total, and my center sheet ended up measuring 7 3/4 wide. So if that helps you out figuring out the different sizes, but really I just did it by eye and trimmed a little bit off each one. Here I'm trimming down this dictionary page, so I have some nice clean edges. This also has a really nice texture to it. This is from an old dictionary. I got it at a book fair or in a used book section, and I thought it would be perfect for things like this. So I'm going to stack everything on my folds. And then I'm clipping this together to hold it. I sort of put these clips on and then off and on and off as I need them. And I'm pulling in my We Are Memory Keepers binding punch guide. You guys have seen me use this before. It really helps to keep all those pages in order and create the holes that I need down my spine to get this all sewn together. So you just screw that top place into place, and then you follow the guide. And depending on where you want to start and how much you would like to sew together, I'm going to do the entire spine of the book. You just poke a hole through every other hole as you're going down through the guide. And I'm just working my way back up again, making sure that I got through each of those papers. Now you'll just take this top portion off, and you want that to be held down tight, but not too tight. I always seem to have trouble with one of the two pegs that hold that in. They do want to be a bit sticky, but that's also good because you want to make sure that your guide is going to stay in place. So there I'm showing you I've done some sewing on each of these pages, and I had planned to use this vellum to create a shaker pocket. What I didn't plan on was, because this is a really nice thick vellum and because of the way the stitching was going up and down the binding, you'll see after I put this together, it is actually not going to hold. The holes in the binding were too far apart, and it just ended up sort of perforating down the seam, and as soon as I got it put together, it started falling apart. So I will fix that later on. But I left this in here because I think it's important to always share mistakes as well, and that will hopefully keep someone else from making the same mistake. I am using this sequin mix, which is from Lilac Lane, and this is called just their plum sequin mix. It's one of my favorites, and it's really perfect for fall. It's got some beautiful purples and oranges in it. Here I'm going to pull out some wax thread. There is some of this that comes with the binding kit, or the binding punch guide, but you can also get this on Amazon as well, and this works really great for not catching on your papers. It allows that thread to go really smoothly through each of the pages. So you're going to start in the center, and you're going to work your way up the spine of the book, going through every other hole. Here I'm just double checking to make sure that everything has been turned the proper way, because I'm not seeming to line up quite as easily as I should. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and I start on the inside of my book because I would like the finished knot to be on the inside and have a clean seam on the outside. So I'm going to run this thread through every other hole. And there I take my clips off because it's a little bit easier to get things to line up. So it's just whatever works best for you. Just keeping that pulled tight but not too tight as I work the thread up the spine. And once I get to this last hole, I'm going to loop around, go back down through that same hole, and we're going to continue going every other one, and that's going to complete our seam all the way for the top half. I'll continue then on once I get to the middle, doing the same thing every other one, and as I get to the opposite end, I will loop around and work my way back up to the center. You can see as you get going, once you have that first half stitched, things are pretty much in place, and the second half is a lot easier. There There we are, that's the last one. So we're just gonna loop around to the inside, going down that exact same hole, which is gonna complete our seam. And then we'll continue alternating until we get back to the center. Going to take that thread and create a knot. You want to make that as tight as you can. And then you can trim off the excess, and I will weave that into each of these stitches here just to keep those ends nice and safe. Now I was showing you there how much I had left over. General rule of thumb when you're doing something like this for me is I will go 3.5 to 4 times the length of the project that I want to stitch when I'm pulling out my thread. And there we go. I'm going to fold that over, give it a nice crease, try to get my book to lay as flat as I can. Although once we put in all of the decorations, it's not going to lie completely flat. There you can see what my plan was for that beautiful shaker window, and very shortly here you'll see my plan fall apart. I'm using my ruler here just to tear off some edges of this dictionary paper. I wanted to keep this some interest when you're flipping through, just so there's some different sized pages. I'm checking everything, making sure I've got a good seam and it all looks right. My plan here was to take that pink paper, which I had pulled in from my stash, and I was going to glue that here on the opposite side of the vellum. And at this point I'm noticing that there may be something funny happening with the vellum, but I wanted to keep going with my plan. I was hoping that this was all gonna work out. So I'm adding some ATG, and I'm just going to cover one side of that vellum. And then I'll fold that over and add some more ATG to cover the second side. And this would be what you would want to do if you wanted to cover any of the pages. It just so happened that this one tore apart. And now we see the sequins start falling out. So I'm thinking and wondering, is there any way I can save this? Can I use some washi tape? And I probably could have used some washi tape to keep it closed. But I knew that in folding this back and forth, when you want to look through your book, it just was not going to stand up to any kind of use. So after running through every scenario that I could think of to try and save this, I do end up just tearing this out. Had to be done. Which means I also lose that pretty pink page as well, but that's all right. I will use some of the leftover from that paper to do some embellishments. So what that meant is I needed to rebind my book because everything was feeling much looser. So I'm giving you a look through how I did that. I added in a few project life card there just to give a little bit more interest, some different sizes, kind of make up for the loss of my shaker window. And I just took that project life card, folded it down in half, did the same thing to add my holes down the center, and stitched that up exactly like I had shown you before. So I'm going to call it there for today. That is how I put the notebook together. And then tomorrow I'm going to post how I have decorated everything up. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day, and I will see you tomorrow in our continuation of our notebook.